She really exemplifies what informatics is, and so her winning this award is perfect.
She's had an amazing career through the years. She's had influence not only in the field, but also played a very important role in our department.
When I found out she was going to win the Collen Award, I said, yippee. You know, she really deserved it.
I think she's a great recipient, and I think she's also a recipient who never would have asked for it for herself.
Carol has a sense of joy, excitement, energy that comes through her work, and it is as deep and as valuable as every piece of her scholarship.
Carol Friedman took her opening bow in the Bronx, New York, December 17, 1941. And by the time she enrolled at City College of New York, she loved math and logic, so she majored in math with a logic component.
So it was the type of math that was like theorem-proving kind of math.
Out of college, Carol married Joseph Reyes, a lawyer who worked for the Special Narcotics Prosecutor, and they had 2 daughters. Her first job was at Columbia University's Lamont Geological Observatory in Palisades, New York.
For that, I had to learn programming, and there was no programming courses in college at that time. So I learned Fortran, which was, for mathematical formulas, and assembly language, and I loved it. I was fascinated by it. I loved it, and that was a passion for me.
When it was time to move on in her career, serendipity lent a hand when Carol wandered into the Collen Institute at NYU and was introduced to Dr. Jacob Jack Schwartz, a well-known mathematician who thought that theorem-proving methods could be used for natural language.
And so there I found my real passion, my path, that the natural language, the idea that language could be represented or processed using mathematical structures and programming language was fascinating.
Jack Schwartz introduced Carol to Dr. Naomi Sager, a pioneer in the development of natural language processing for computers, who launched the Linguistic String Project. Carol and Naomi were a perfect match.
It was a very rich environment linguistically. We used to spend hours with, just discussing one linguistic structure, and I helped implement the programming for the conjunctions, which is a very complicated structure. So language is very complex, although it seems really simple to us.
It was early in the Linguistic String Project, when her career was blossoming, that personal tragedy struck Carol, Joe, and the daughters.
Unfortunately, when my younger daughter was 2, he got sick and developed end-stage renal failure, and then passed away soon after.
Suddenly, she was a single mom, and not working was not an option. But the working environment at the Linguistic String Project was such that Naomi Sager and Ralph Grishman would come to Carol's house so she could work from home.
And then when my daughters got a little bit older, I took them with me to the Collen Institute.
Then, serendipity time again. Ralph Grishman's wife, Eileen, who also worked at the Linguistic String Project, had been in the Peace Corps in Iran with a man named Bob Friedman, and she thought Carol should meet Bob.
And we hit it off right away. We both liked international music a lot, travel a lot, food, cooking. We liked cooking. And so we got married soon after.
Bob had 2 children from a previous marriage, and Carol had her 2 daughters, which he later adopted. And eventually, Bob and Carol had a son. So with that size family, it was time for the house in the suburbs.
We moved to Larchmont, to a nice Tudor house. And I remember when my daughters first saw the house, they said, "Oh, we can be king and queen here. We can play king and queen here."
Carol continued to work with the Linguistic String Project, but she was hatching another plan, and that would require a PhD. So when her son was 5, she entered the computer science department at NYU.
And during that time, my husband was very supportive. I mean, he really, pushed me on to it. And my 2 daughters, who were older, helped with all the chores and babysitting, and my son was very independent. So my whole family really worked with me to help me get through it.
With her PhD in hand, Carol was encouraged to join the Center for Medical Informatics at Columbia University.
So I went down, and that was the ideal environment for me. So I joined it, and it was ideal because it was a real medical environment. They were building a central information system, and in it was going to be a decision support component. So that's where natural language could be used in an environment where you were right in that environment, and there were people, all working together on a big team.
Carol was the first female faculty member in the department. She was also the first member of the department that joined with a very strong expertise and history of knowing how to train both doctoral students and postdoctoral students in computational methods, which were incredibly important to the training program in the department.
In 1991, Carol got her first grant from the National Library of Medicine to develop a natural language system that could function properly in a clinical setting.
And I was working on developing a relational database that could be used to store the data, complex data, and to optimize it in a way that it could run decision support for patients.
By 1992, she had produced a system which in one area works so well, and this is now 25 years ago, so that's a huge amount of time in computer science. In 1992, her system basically worked about almost as well as the best systems today in that one area, which happened to be chest radiographs.
Carol created Medley, which is the medical language extraction system. She's received patents for this. She is able to take natural language and convert it into formalized text, as well as take formalized text and create natural sentences from it.
The single biggest thing was probably just proving it was possible. And this is before Google. Proving that you could build a system, a computer system that could understand natural language written in doctor's notes that could do useful things. It wasn't a pipe dream for the future, it wasn't science fiction, it was something that worked today. Today, 1992, she proved that it worked, and that inspired a lot of people to say, hey, I can do that too, maybe I can do better.
I think of her as the mother of natural language processing. She took on a really tough job. That was thought to be impossible when she started it, and she proved it wasn't through her steady, hard work, focus.
I think Carol is a natural mentor. She is low-key, but also very interested. She comes across, she's always been very humble about what she does and more interested in what you're doing, asks great questions.
The mentoring was critical because the students were the ones who really drove the research in a sense. I supervised them.
So she is a mentor to the faculty and to all the students and trainees she's had over the years.
And we had fabulous female trainees who have gone on to very big careers in leadership in biomedical informatics. It was very important that they had a strong female role model as part of the department.
She was very accessible and open-minded. I could stop by her office anytime to ask questions, bring up new ideas. Later in my career, I become aware that this kind of interaction with the mentor is not a norm. I was truly a spoiled trainee at that time.
I still clearly remember the long hours we spent discussing specific problems during my dissertation research. Now, years later, as I supervise my student and direct my research enterprise, Carol serves as a model and an inspiration. I look back on our time together with renewed appreciation.
I had great students, and I think they're very well known in the field now, which is extremely rewarding. And more recently, I became the graduate school director of a graduate program at DBMI, and that's very rewarding. It's like having a big family.
It was Wendy Chapman at the University of Utah who nominated Carol for the Collen Award. She's been a huge fan since her student days in the 90s.
Carol was a person I looked to. She was very gracious with her time. She came to our talks at AMIA, she asked questions, and she stayed after to talk with us about our work. That made us feel really good. She also talked with us in the halls, and when I got up the courage to ask her to lunch, she went willingly. I still feel in awe when I see Carol, but she always greets me as if she's excited to see me, and that warmth breeds confidence in the new generation.
Carol has authored or co-authored 2 books and more than 150 papers, half of which are currently available in PubMed Central, the National Library of Medicine's full-text database, available worldwide, free.
She's an intellectual leader as she takes on different facets of a problem or different strategies to solve it. She's the one that's bringing the solutions together.
And just how did Carol Friedman learn that she's the 2017 Collen Award recipient?
Oh, that was a great experience. Sue Bakken invited me and a bunch of female faculty to her house for dinner, drinks, and socializing, and I thought that was so nice.
But then the phone rang. Sue answered it and said, "Carol, it's for you." Carol froze. It had to be bad news. Who would call her at Sue's house? But Sue smiled and said, "It's fine. Take the call."
So I was very puzzled, and when I took the call, it was Chris Shute saying that I was getting the Collen Award.
And it was so, so special to have that moment with her when she heard, and just to be able to celebrate her scientific legacy at that point in time.
It was such a great experience. I'll never forget that.
And if the Collen Award helps keep her in the field as long as possible, that would be a huge benefit to the field. Let's put it that way.
On the personal side of the ledger, Carol and Bob moved from the house in Larchmont back into New York City after 9/11. As the kids grew older, they have greatly enjoyed travel and the adventure that brings. They've purchased a getaway home in Canaan, New York, where, among other things, Carol just loves mowing the grassy meadow, and their family has been joyously expanded by 10 grandchildren.
As the director of the National Library of Medicine, I want to say to you, Carol, you are so worthy, so deserving of this award. Our association is so proud and so pleased to be able to give this.
Congratulations on this award. It is well deserved. You are a true informatician. You've helped our field so much. And I look forward to many more years of research coming out of your lab. Thank you, Carol.
Well deserved, and you've been a hero in my mind and the major pathfinder in natural language processing for clinical data, an extremely important field, and thank you, thank you.
Her influence on me is huge. Thank you for training me and being my role model, Carol.
My warmest congratulations to Carol on being accorded this well-deserved honor.
I could not be more thrilled that you are the recipient of this year's Collen Award, and add my congratulations to those of other colleagues.
Great. That's the only word for it, really great.